So is this going to be like the black and white side shot? You know? Well, if someone's getting their first tattoo, I would say think about why you're getting your first tattoo and be honest about it. And I don't think there's any real wrong answer, but I think you really need to know why.
Pick something that's going to mark this place in your life, and you're going to look back at it with fond memories.
I lecture about tattooing and the history of it. And one of my clients was asked, why do you get tattoos? And her answer might be a little weak, but I think it's got some validation. She said, why is the sky blue?
Just don't be too influenced by peer group. I think it's okay to get a little sorority thing or fraternity thing or some kind of like woodpecker smoking a joint or something. That's okay to have one of those, but realize that, you know, you're marking your body.
Make sure it's something you feel like you can live with the rest of your life. Be tasteful about picking it out and make sure you can live with it the rest of your life.
All of my tattoos mark different places in my life. They don't necessarily are significant towards, but I can tell you who did it, who was there, where I was, what I was doing. And, you know, it's like a story. It's a storyboard.
It's a reflection. My tattoos are a reflection. They're a reflection of who I am on the inside to be put onto the outside. Now, that might not apply to everybody, but I think the most successful tattoos actually are markers of your life, of your journey, and that you can look at them and remember precisely where you were, who you were with, what music was playing, how you were feeling. And those tattoos take you right back to that time.
Be careful, man. Be patient, be careful, check it out, check out the artist portfolio, make sure that portfolio is actually theirs. They didn't, you know, steal things from somebody else and claim that they're theirs. I mean, you know, let the buyer beware. You have to, you know, you can't take chances like that.
Don't do anything distasteful, don't do anything gang related or racist. Make sure it's something that you can live with the rest of your life. I've seen throughout my career the person that comes in and wants a cartoon character. It may sound good when you're 21 years old. When you're 41, it's like, what the hell am I doing with that?
I got a lot of people, most of the time 18 to 25, and they come in and they say, oh yeah, listen, my friend was here 3 days ago. He had this and this done. I want the same one. What? Or they come in and they go like, hey, listen, you choose me something. Or you pick me out the heart. Hey, I'm not gonna get tattooed. You're the one getting tattooed. You have to look in the books. I'm not gonna do that for you. You know? And a lot of people come in with groups and they're all taking a heart with a ribbon, and I'm gonna take his name and his name and his name and his name. But your next door neighbor, that's not gonna be a friend anymore in 3 months. So that's gonna be a cover up again, and you're gonna get all these names under each other and they're all covered up, you know? Names, I don't do names.
My father used to have a saying. He says, somebody wants a name on them, if they want a woman's name on it, he says, you do it as big and fancy as they want it for the same price. Because when they want to get it covered up, it's going to cost them more. Probably most cover-ups that are done in tattooing are from 2 reasons. Either poor tattooing, or they made a mistake and got a loved one's name and not somebody else's loved one. You know, the tattoo will always be your tattoo. Your wife may not always be your wife or girlfriend or whatever. And I see that every time somebody gets a name on them, I think, well, no, it's going to be until they want to get rid of it.
Make sure you really want this. It's, you know, we have a lot of young kids that come in and want a lot of dumb stuff. And especially, I focus more on the females. Young, pretty girls coming in wanting not a so pretty tattoo. They're 18, they're in this groove of whatever they're into that they're probably not going to be into in 5 years, wanting their arms tattooed or their neck. And I try to explain to them, you know, you're young, you're going to change. These can affect, you know, your life if you get a job, if you don't get a job. And if I don't think a tattoo is actually going to be nice on someone, I tell them, I don't think you're going to be happy with this. And 90% of the time I can talk them out of it and getting something different, or at least moving the location.
This is hard to correct if you, you know, don't get it done right the first time. I mean, you know, you can get things repaired, reworked, lasered. You know, you have choices, but it's always better to get it right, you know, the first time. So just, you know, choose your artist very carefully.
Some people, you know, they walk around the walls and they look at the work that they're in, and some people think, well, why would you get something on the wall when you can have something custom? Those designs that are on the wall are drawn by the best artists in the business, and they've put a lot of time and love into making those designs, and it doesn't matter whether someone else has it or not. The chances of you running into that person somewhere in the world are slim to none.
My advice would be to walk in the shop, see the atmosphere, start asking questions. Those questions that you should be asking are, do your tattooers have bloodborne pathogen certificates? How do you sterilize your materials? How long have you been established here? Feel comfortable in the space. Feel comfortable with the people in front of you, and look at the artwork. See it for what it is in the book, not subject matter, but quality. Look at the shots themselves, the quality of the photo, the quality of the lines, the quality of the fill, but also connect with someone. Their style may speak to you, and that's the kind of person you want to create a relationship with. A tattoo is a relationship. It is. Your hands are on someone's body for hours and hours and hours sometimes. There's energy exchange, there's art exchange. So you really have to pick the person that you want to put your body in care of.
Sometimes it really breaks my heart when I see what some of the young girls are getting. They're not thinking it out. In other words, large chest pieces was a trend for quite a while. I've seen enough butterflies and skulls on girls' chests to last a lifetime. And there's to see some 18-year-old girl with this big dark blue thing covering up her whole chest for the rest of her life. And I'll ask them, do you ever think you're going to wear a dress someday? Do you think you're going to walk down an aisle someday? Or they'll have a big bleeding skull being stabbed by, you know, some vampire with Hitler laughing on the side. And I always say, you know, have you ever realized you're going to be in a nursing home someday and you're going to have that on you, you know? And they go, no. They're in the moment, and they just think they're going to be 18 for the rest of their lives. And tattoos are, again, marks a point in time, but on the other hand, it's a little bit sad sometimes. I wish people thought them out a little bit better.
I grew up in a small town in Northern California, Ukiah by name, and was 10 years and 2 months old when World War II started. So, which was hot shit. I mean, biggest event that happened since, I guess, Wall Street crash in 1929. And, but there was servicemen coming home, and they'd have a little tattoo bespeckled here and everything else. And I was in my testosterone development period, and thought they were hot shit. So tattoos meant adventure, travel. They'd been out of the valley, all the way to Frisco at least. And so that's what tattoos are to me. I mean, they're like travel marks. They're like putting stickers on your luggage. So in 1946, I did. Took a day trip on the Greyhound bus. Went down to St. Big City. Wasn't a runaway. My parents were knew where I was at, and because I was really not a rebellious kid or everything else. Because I think people get tattooed or suffer from rebellion and all this shit. But while I was down there, I did stumble across the tattoo shop and went back and looked at all the little pictures on the wall and everything else. And the guy tattooing says, "What in the hell do you want?" And I went, and pointed at one and had it on in 2-3 minutes. And God, I was sitting there and I got this heart with mother, and that guy just flashed that son of a bitch on there so quick, you know, the fastest rite of passage he ever went through. And I know going home that night on the bus, it was dark, riding out through the country, and I was holding my arm up trying to get some ambient light because I could feel it, and it was tender, but I couldn't see it. And then they'd go into a little town, and which buses do, they go here and there and everything. So I'd get some light off the street lights, and I'd say, it was there. Of course, we'd leave town, and I'd lose it. It's like blind people, you know, they love their tattoo till they can't find it anymore. So then I went home, and goddamn, I was right here, hot stuff, you know. Kids were all amazed, you know, everything. But I got admonished from a few parents. Inadvertently, they would make some kind of a sly remark about it because of the stigma on tattooing. So that was my first tattoo.
So we go to Cliff's, and Michael's getting his tattoo, and I'm looking at all the flash on the walls. And imagine this happening today. You know, just imagine what your response would be. If a woman came in and saw a little clipper ship on the flash and said, oh, that symbolizes freedom and, you know, the highway and, you know, the adventure and everything that I'd come to associate tattooing with, and put it right here on my thigh. That's what I wanted, this tiny little clipper ship right here, symbolizing my heart and my true nature. And they told me, no, you can't get that. And I said, why? And they said, you're a girl. That's not a girl's design, that's a man's design. Women can't get that design. What you can, and I said, well, what am I supposed to get? And they said, well, you can get a rabbit or a squirrel or a skunk named Stinky. And I said, well, I'm from a farm. I'm not getting any of those yard varmints on me. You know, a skunk named Stinky, are you kidding me? So I had to go home without my tattoo that night.
I always say the first place to get a good tattoo is right up here. For guys, you know, you can enjoy yourself, it's easy to heal, and then you can kind of step in easy to the tattoo world.
My first tattoo was done by this little old man in Tacoma, Professor Rex. And at that time, that was like the early 70s, I got like a design on my arm because it was like the type of shop where you would walk in and you would pick something off the wall and you would just get it. And I didn't really want a rose because it was too generic or something. So I decided to get a skull with bat wings. Well, anyway, after I got the skull with bat wings and wore that for a year or two, I used to get ostracized, and when I used to take the bus to work, people would try to pick fights with me and everything.
Tattoos weren't very big back then, and it was overpriced. It was over how much to charge. And I was afraid of the pain because of all the myths about how much they hurt and everything. So I didn't want to get in over my head. Like I said, I was in a bad part of town. These guys had some 38s tucked under their belt, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I got a little one, a little rose, and it was just out of just wanting to dip my toe in the water. And then before they even had that halfway done, I picked a big dragon off the wall with a lot of black shading. I was really drawn to. It was supposed to be a cover-up, but it was a big black acetate hanging on the wall there. And then they had a painting of it, and I loved that black shading on there. He said, oh, no, that's a cover-up. You got tattoo fever. Come back tomorrow. Well, hell, they made some money. I think they had to go get a bag of weed or something. They had a date, you know. So they didn't want to tattoo a big one that day, so I went back. I think I was on a Friday. I came back on a Saturday, and I had tattoo fever. Unfortunately, I just ran out of money. I probably would have been still in Cincinnati all tattooed up. It's just, I think it takes a reckless individual. It's a point of reckless abandon, you know. It's like you guys travel a lot, and, you know, sometimes you just kind of got to walk that direction, you know, just give it up, you know, and you'll figure it all out, you know. So I think that's a cool step in tattooing, just surrendering a little to this fear.
Find somebody that you like their style, take their advice, you know, try to get a good piece of artwork, don't be in a big hurry, and don't expect to be cheap. You know, you can find it cheap everywhere, but, you know, we all say that, but It's true. You get what you pay for, because you're not buying a TV set. You can buy, like, you know, Sony TV costs the same at Walmart or Kmart, but, you know, when you're paying for somebody for skill and craft, that's what you're paying for, and a lot of people need to know that.
Don't get your damn face tattooed right out the gate. I have kids coming in wanting their faces tattooed, and they don't even have a tattoo yet. It's just, listen to the older people. They'll guide you, and then you'll be happy.
Find somebody you can relate to is very important in getting tattooed. I think it might be one of the most important things. Find somebody you like, somebody you want to spend time with, somebody you respect as an artist, as a person, maybe even more as a person, because I think that you carry that person's energy in your tattoo. And no matter how good that tattooer is, if he's a dickhead, that's in your tattoo. And you're going to think about that every time you look at it. You're going to remember that part of him or her.
Research every shop in your area. Go to every tattoo shop before you decide on one. Look at every one of them. Look at every portfolio.
Don't go around checking price at tattoo shops. Check portfolios, check sterilization, check cleanliness, check the attitude of the tattoo artist in the shop, and especially the attitude of the artist that's going to do your tattoo.
Meet the artist. That artist is going to transmit their energy to you. You know, I know a lot of people who have really mediocre tattoos, but they got it under a great circumstance, and they love that tattoo. And then I know a lot of people who have really stellar work from somebody that they didn't have a connection with, and they don't like that tattoo. So make sure you have an association with an artist. You know, meet the artist, talk to them.
Some young artists don't realize that, and a lot of collectors don't realize that. The tattoo is not going to look like it looks the first day. And it shouldn't. It should grow with the body, and it's going to naturally blend and spread, and it's going to mature. And a real good artist knows that, and the tattoo actually gets better as it matures. So I've seen a lot of tattoos 10 years old that look fantastic because the artist planned for that.
You know, I really try to get a feel of what that person wants the end result to be. If they come in and they say, hey, I want to do my arm, and I'm thinking about doing this later, well, I want to sit down and talk to you about, hey, what do you visualize as your collection of body art to be in the end? You know, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to do like I have. I mean, when I started getting tattoos, there's one here, one there, and then you're stuck at the end like, shit, how do I connect them all together?
People that are spontaneous in everything they do in life get to where they don't regret their spontaneity, but other people that do something that way might regret a tattoo, and I don't want them to regret it. I want them to embrace it throughout their life. You know, I mean, but I think if they think it out well, they kind of do. I tell people, do your homework. You know.
Think about who you are, kind of. You know, I mean, I like to say, okay, take a picture of yourself when you were 5 years old and look at that picture of you at 5 and say, you know, what did you want to be when you know, what tripped your trigger? What made you happy? You know, did you want to be an astronaut? Did you want to be a pirate? Did you want to be a doctor? Did you want to be a teacher? What did you want to be? And what's important to you? Look at a thesaurus and look at family, you know, like words like family, security, adventure, you know, freedom. Look at those words. Match those up with those childhood dreams, because that kid is still inside of you. That kid is who you are, at essence. And then we can find an artist who can translate those things into an image for you that will be something you can look at and say, that's who I am.
The other thing is to check out the person's portfolio and see what you like in that portfolio, and make sure it's that person's portfolio. There's a lot of thieves out there stealing shit off the internet, and you know, make sure you don't have to jump into that real crazy like, and definitely stay away from people that are friends of friends that a brother learned in prison or something. It's just not safe, and you're not going to be happy. You're going to end up paying twice to get it covered up.
Don't be as stupid as me. Don't tattoo your hands, don't tattoo your neck. I done that, but I got these already over 20 years. Even that was done in '92, so that's already a long time ago as well. But if I could do it over, I wouldn't have none of that, because every airport I come in, it's like, hey, you. Now I shave my head, you watch. Hey, you. And then I'm looking. No, you. You. No. Yeah, why? No, you got tattoos. Hey, give me a back. You know.
A lot of people get tattoos, become life of the party. I've seen so many wallflowers become whatever you want, princesses overnight, because I see it all the time. There's some normal-looking girl, all kind of shy, and she's the shy one, and no boyfriend, and poor girl, and then all of a sudden she gets that little tattoo, and she's the life of the party. Holy cow, people are talking to me. And then everyone's heard that story, so what do? You get another tattoo, so you have another story for another 2-3 months to talk about. And it just grows from there, and then their whole persona becomes their tattoo. Tattooing adds to life. It's not your life, except for those people who have committed themselves to the industry, like any industry. But just because, I don't know, you have a fantasy to be a doctor doesn't mean you go out and buy a Porsche and wear a white coat all the time. It's just, I think, you know what I'm saying, you have to be true to yourself.
First of all, I would tell you probably not to get a tattoo. Yeah, but I do that. I do that. If you don't have a tattoo, I will ask you, you sure you want to get a tattoo? First of all, I don't want to be charged that we had a tendency in the past was I got a tattoo and it was, oh, I was drunk. Like we transfer the blame onto someone else that it was their fault that you got the tattoo. Do it sober, and if you do it, I think that you should think about it. I honestly think you should probably not do it off the cuff, although that 80% of people that get tattooed do it at the spur of the moment. I think that it's something that should be thought well out. But once you get it, they're like Fritos potato chips. You just can't have one.